everyone, my name is Chelsea and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we have my July wrap-up and book haul. We are combining both of them this month because I did not really read very much in July. We'll get into my stats and everything in just a second. But I knew July was going to be one of my lower reading months just because we had a ton of stuff going on. My in-laws are in town and we went on multiple road trip type of things because my husband wants to show them around Washington, and there was the Renaissance Fair, lots of family things that we did this month, and so my reading tanked. I'm also sort of in a reading slump because I also started a couple different arcs and things that I just was not really into in a way that wasn't the book's fault necessarily. It just felt like it was taking forever to read. I think I actually might mention a couple things that I'm reading just because I technically have read a little bit more pages than what my actual stats are gonna say here, because the things I'm in the middle of are not part of my spreadsheet right now. But let's get into it. My reading sucked this month. So I read two things in the month of July. My lowest number besides this month was 7, which was at that point I was oh my gosh, I still only read 7. No, I read 2. So when people tell you that reading ebbs and flows, or you don't have to read a ton of things in order to if you want to do a booktube or things like that, that's fine. 2 for some people is perfectly normal. I actually don't feel like I needed to do more, except for the fact that I was really wanting better for myself and it just really didn't happen. We'll get into it. But 2 felt low. We were doing a lot of other things. I did play a little bit of video games and stuff to try and get me out of the slumpy feeling I was having, but I think it was more just, it's summer, the kids are out of school, we were doing a lot of stuff with family, and just being able to sit down and read just feels hard sometimes. So I read 2 things in the month. And then as for the page number, it's 405. 405, because out of those 2 things that I read, technically one is a DNF. Like I said, I'm in the middle of a couple arcs as well, so the page number actually would be a little bit higher. I do not think I hit 1,000 though. It just was not an actual really good reading month. So let's move down to hours listened. I did listen to 2 hours worth of audiobooks. That was my DNF. We will talk about it. But again, it's very low compared to my averages. I don't think I mentioned earlier, but I usually try to aim for 2,000 pages a month. Obviously did not happen. I haven't really had a goal for hours listened per month, but I do find that me reading on audiobook gets pretty close to 10 hours. Doesn't always hit there. Sometimes I go over, but I feel maybe that's my goal for next year. We'll see. But yeah, 2 hours. It did not happen. It just was not happening. So let's get into the monthly stats. For the reading method, 1 was an audiobook, like we talked about a little bit, and then 1 was an ebook. I did not pick up anything physically this month. For the genre, 1 was fantasy and 1 was mystery. For the book format, both of them were novels. As for indie or traditional, 2 of them were traditionally published. How I got it, 1 was a book that I owned previous to this year, and 1 was one that I borrowed from the library. The age category, 1 was middle grade and 1 was adult. I know this is probably not very interesting. For the publication year, 1 was a backlist title, which is something that, for me, was published at least 3-4 years ago, and 1 was a classic. And then I have been tracking where the author is from. So for the 2 books that I read this month, 1 was an author from England and 1 was an author from the United States. So besides all of that, the only thing that we have left is star rating. My average for the month is a 2-star because I DNF'd 1 of them, which means on my spreadsheet I gave it a 1, and then my other thing that I read I give it a 3. So again, I'm in a slump, but the things that I was reading, the ones that we're going to be talking about, were just obviously not as good as they could have been either. And so that is the stats. very quick and short because of the fact that we only had 2 things. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna jump into the actual books that I read in the month. We will start with the DNF and move to my, I don't think I can call it my favorite book of the month, but the one that I actually finished. Let's say that. So the one that I DNF'd was my audiobook. Was the only book this month that was actually on my TBR for the month as well. And that's the second book in the School for Good and Evil series by Soma Janani. So this is A World Without Princes. I got over 100 pages into this book. It's actually a pretty chunky book. Like, it has extras in the back that take me forever to flip past, apparently. Over 400 pages here. So I got like maybe a quarter of the way through this book. And I gave the first book in this series 4 stars. Like, again, not like an absolute new favorite middle grade fantasy, but like a 4-star, pretty solid. I did not like this book whatsoever. I got over 100 pages in. But so basically, after the whole events of book 1, where we sort of end in a like happily for now type of situation, because it is sort of based on fairy tales. The first book takes like the good versus evil format of fairy tales in general and sort of puts it where these kids go to this school. They're sort of kidnapped from their village to go to this school. But you have the school for good and the school for evil. And we follow 2 characters. One is Sophie, who is like blonde-haired, blue-eyed, very concerned about how she looks and things like that. And she thinks she should be in the school for good. She ends up in evil. And then we have Agatha, who is sort of her friend, frenemy, maybe, who has dark hair, doesn't really take care of herself. Her mom's a witch, all that kind of stuff. People expect her to be in evil, and she ends up in good. And I really liked the first book and the play of good versus evil and what expectations there is for that. After the whole thing ends, we now end up with the second book. I don't want to get into spoilers or anything like that, but basically Agatha wishes for a different ending from that first book and gets thrown into this second book with Sophie. And just the way that everything happened, we're now basically boys versus girls versus good versus evil. And the way that it is portrayed feels very misogynistic, and I just don't like the idea of hardly anything that has happened so far. I looked up a few reviews afterward, nothing like super spoilery. Some people say that there's a twist at the end of this that makes them want to go into book 3. I don't actually know what that is because I don't care. But it does not seem like it plays off the first book very well. Apparently it's sort of retconning some of the stuff that happened because of the first book. And yeah, just the way of the whole boys versus girl thing and like them going back to the school and it being on the girls' side and people sort of preaching the whole like, in order to be who you are as a girl, you can do whatever you want, eat whatever you want, do whatever you want with your hair. Like, the idea of that, sure. However, we have had some commentary about people's bodies in a way that I don't like. And one of the characters from the previous book was plus-sized or fat, however you want to call it, in that first book. And now, because it's like girls versus boys versus evil versus good, she's like on a diet and looking better, and people are like, oh, she just wants to be good. And like, it's just, the way you look should not matter how you are portrayed as good versus evil or whatever it is. And so like some of the commentary on this, I just don't think I can do it. And like, in a way, I want to say the first book should be a standalone. But at the same time, I do remember a little bit of that talk, slight fat phobia, ableism type of things in that first book. That was part of the reason I couldn't give it a full 5, because even though I liked the way that it turned the fairy tale stuff on its head, it's a little bit like, and I just feel like that came about more in here. So I don't think I'm going to finish the series. Like, I'm DNFing this book. I have the third book. We're going to get rid of that as well. I'm debating whether I want to get rid of the first book too, or just treat it like a standalone. Because I've done that with other books in the past where I've read the first one, absolutely loved it, and then tried the sequel or finale or whatever it was and didn't, and was like, okay, I just need to treat it as a standalone. I don't know if I'm going to get rid of the whole series or not, but I did not like this one. Okay, and then the only other book that I read this month was Cards on the Table by Agatha Christie. This was part of my plot twist vlog, so I will leave that link down below in case you would like to see it. I did go into depth about this as well. This is obviously a more classic mystery type of situation because it is by Agatha Christie. It is one that I didn't really know much about, never really heard of it. It is a Hercule Poirot mystery. It was fine. I thought the actual like reveals of stuff was pretty good, but it does deal a lot with Bridge. And Poirot goes into Bridge a lot when he's like questioning people and like deducing people's personalities and what that means for if they could have been the killer. And I don't understand Bridge. So I do think that's probably part of the reason that I gave this a 3. Like, it was fine. I wish there was some sort of maybe like an adaptation where it wasn't Bridge focused and they brought it maybe more into the modern day, because I do like some of the other mystery aspects of it, but Bridge was such a big part of it that I just did not understand. But I think that's probably also why this is one that like I had never heard of before. Like, I don't think it's as well known as some of her other mysteries. Wasn't bad. It was only a couple hundred pages. But yeah, maybe I just wanted a little bit more from it, or I needed to be more knowledgeable about Bridge. So yeah. And then, just so you guys know, I think we're just going to talk about the arcs that I'm reading currently, because these are ones that I started like back when they were first coming out, before they came out, and then never finished them. And it's partly because I talked about this actually a little bit in that plot twist vlog. I got new glasses this year. I did a whole video on it, and then even after that video, I had to take them back and get new lenses because I was having glare issues. And even now, I do think the way that the lights on certain car headlights glare at night is bad. It's worse than my previous glasses. I have an astigmatism. I have always had an astigmatism, and I usually get a coating on there that like helps mitigate the glariness of lights. I don't think it's helping as much, even though I know I ordered it to be put on there, so I don't know my issue. But all of my arcs pretty much are e-arcs from NetGalley, and I have been having issues with the way that words look on the phone when I'm trying to read. And I think it's because I had it on like the sepia toned parchment-y paper setting. I never read on like the pure white background with black letters because that just never really worked for me. When I went to read my plot twist book, I did switch over to like night mode. Is that what they call it? I think it helps a little bit, but I think that's part of the reason I've been having issues with my e-arcs. So basically I started 2 different e-arcs this month that I should have finished and I didn't. One of them is How to Survive a Horror Story by Mallory Arnold. This is supposed to be like an Agatha Christie mystery meets like Knives Out. And I got about 21% into this. I started reading it when we were on our like Olympic National Park vlog. And it was just, we were waiting for like an hour to get into one of the places. And so I was like, let me try and read. And again, it took me a while to get into this because of how the words and stuff were doing. I need to try again. But basically this is about an author who has passed away, and he was like the king of horror type of thing. And he invited quite a few people to his like will reading and whatnot. One of them who we opened the book with is not really part of the horror writer community. And so we don't really know much about her. The different chapters have had different point of views. So we're getting to know a little bit about all the characters currently where I am in the book. And I'm curious to see where this is gonna go. But apparently they have to survive a night in this house or something, and there's different puzzles and different rooms and people might die. I don't know. Like, I definitely need to get into this more. But like I said, reading the ebooks lately has been taking a while, so I didn't get too far into that one. The second one that, again, I started before it came out, both of these have since come out and I haven't finished them yet, was Roll for Romance by Lenora Woods. This is going to be more of like a nerdy, geeky romance with this girl who I think got fired from her job or something, moves to a different state and lives with like her gay best friend. And then he is the dungeon master and has invited her plus a few other people that he knows around town to join this D&D group. It's her first time ever playing D&D. I think it's the whole group's first time ever playing D&D. And one of the other people is also new in town, and that's the people we're gonna have a romance with. Like, they're doing a little bit of the romance stuff in the D&D campaign as well as outside the D&D campaign. I am 45% of the way into this book, and this one is like a 300 something page romance. I have read it on like 5 or 6 separate days. That should not take me that long. Part of it is reading on my phone right now. Although I'm hoping, because I switched over to like the night mode situation, it's gonna be better. The other part of it is, it's just fine so far. We'll see how it goes, but what I'm feeling is that like the stuff where they're in the D&D campaign, it's written from their character's point of view, like her D&D character's point of view. It's not written like them in a D&D campaign where they make decisions and the dungeon master talks. Like, it's written from the fantasy. And I like those parts, but they come few and far between. And then the normal stuff is just slice of life normal stuff. And I'm wishing for more from that. More romance, more angst. I don't know, more of something. The characters are fine. It's very normal slice of life day to day. They obviously have crushes on each other, but there's like no conflict or anything else happening really. And so I'm just not finding the motivation to push through my issues with my phone right now to read it. Like, it's just not hooking my attention as much as I wished it was going to. I will finish it. I don't think it's bad enough to DNF. And like I said, I'm hoping that my issues with the phone, now that I switched to night mode, go away. Because I have a few more arcs that I need to read for the year, and I need to like read them on the e-reader. So that's where we are at with my wrap up. It was fine. Okay, let's move into what I'm hauling for the month. It's actually not that bad. I say that now, watch it be horrible. It's actually not that bad. And so I don't think this is gonna take me very long, which is part of the reason I decided to combine this into one video, because I read hardly anything. So the first thing I have here is stuff from Rainbow Crate. So this came in at the very beginning of July. It's May's. The May theme was soulmates. Very, very cute card. And so the first book that we have here is Where the River Meets the Soul by S. Nicole. This is a gorgeous cover. I love what they did with the art here. Here's our back. I think it gives us a summary on there as well. Here are the edges. Can you guys see? Hopefully. It's gorgeous. It's really, really pretty. When we go underneath the dust jacket, this is the original cover of the book. So again, I like the vibe here, but I love what they did with that cover. Here is our back. And then we obviously will have some end papers. And I think it's the same on both sides. It is. And it looks like it's actually signed by the author. Rainbow Crate in the past has just done a lot of book plates, which is perfectly fine. But yeah, one thing that we also have going on with Rainbow Crate that I really like is we have nutrition facts that'll give you like a small snapshot of the different representation and things that you can expect in the book. So this book is going to be 390 pages. The representation in here is LGBTQ+, Black, pan-romantic asexual, gender fluid, and Afro-Mexican bisexual. It is going to be a fantasy romance, and for plot, they have some like themes and tropes here. So we have strangers to friends to lovers, slow burn, nature, magic, and betrayal. And then this one says for demographics, it is 100% young adult, which I don't know if I knew. I don't read young adult as much anymore, but I'm very curious about this one. Lifetime after lifetime lost and found again until the cycle was broken. As an herbalist, Harriet lives a life devoted to others, a task that has become increasingly difficult with the loss of the elixir, a magical bloom that's healing properties have kept the people of Violin strong and healthy for hundreds of years. She does her best to make up for the loss, but when her sister's illness is discovered to be fatal, she makes it her mission to find the healing blossom. With the help of a friend and a lucky encounter with the heiress of a powerful company in Violin, she finds herself on a journey to return the elixir to its former glory. So this is going to definitely be like a questing type book. Okay. Okay, and then we always get 2 books in the Rainbow Crate box. So the second one is Faces by A.M. Rose. This is a very short one, but this is the one I'm more intrigued by, like more up my alley. So, cover, obviously. Spine, back, the edges. Here we go. I feel like this camera hasn't been focusing as well lately, but hopefully we're good. Okay, and then you go underneath the dust jacket. This is not the original cover, but I don't mind it. I really like what they did with this cover as well. So one there, and then our end papers. Again, it's going to be the same on the front and the back. And this one has like an author letter inside. It's not signed or anything, and I don't know if we got a signed book plate or not, because like I said, usually Rainbow Crate will have the signed book plates. Okay, so nutrition facts. 200 pages. Representation is gay cis male, blindness, and Down syndrome. Genre is adult contemporary. Plot, so we have soulmates, learning to love, meet cute in a cafe, and tired of my job. And then demographics is 100% adult. So this one is going to be, it says contemporary in there. From my understanding, I think this is going to be a romance, but maybe it's more romantic fiction than an actual romance. We'll see. But it has a blind main character. So it says, he drew 1,000 faces, but none of them were his. His whole life, the one thing Dorian wanted more than anything else was to know who his soulmate was. But while he can find everyone else's soulmate, he can't do the same for himself. Resigned to live a life of solitude, he spends his days giving people the key to their happiness, borrowing their joy and basking in the beauty of their love. It's enough. Until he meets Hayden. Hayden, who is everything Dorian has ever dreamed of. Hayden, who cares for Dorian the same way Dorian cares for him. So, okay, it said adult contemporary, but obviously this is going to be like some sort of magical realism, because from my understanding, and then part of the reason I wanted this, so he's blind and an artist, and he draws the picture of who the person's soulmate is supposed to be. So he can like sort of predict these things or see these things, for other people, but not himself. And yeah, I need to read this. I love that they have the like braille up here as well as braille on the edges. Like, I really like the idea of this one. And then I had a couple pre-orders come in. So the first one that I have here is the duo of Killer on the Road and The Babysitter Lives by Stephen Graham Jones. I love this right here. Like, so one side will be Killer on the Road, but then like it goes upside down on the other side because that will be The Babysitter Lives. I'm pretty sure, especially with the way that this book is, Babysitter Lives was a like exclusive to something at one point, Audible or something like that. So it technically has been out before, but I don't know if it's been published in a like physical form before. Whereas I think Killer on the Road is completely new. Watch it be backwards and it'd be the complete opposite thing. But because this is technically the front and this one has the ISBN and the barcode on the back, I think that's the one that's been out before. But so these are both going to be those sort of dark horror thriller type of situations. And I definitely want to read them. So I love the idea. And like you can sort of see where they're going to be. So obviously Killer on the Road is bigger, longer than The Babysitter Lives. But yeah, this is by Stephen Graham Jones. Hopefully I said that. I definitely want to read these. And then the other one that I have here is Arcana Academy by Elise Kova. So Elise Kova is somebody that I have read before, usually an indie author, but this is published by Del Rey. So this is going to be traditionally published. Fantasy romance, I'm pretty sure. New adult, maybe adult. It has really, really gold, shiny edges. And so I'm very excited for this one. It is, I think, like the first publishing of this. I don't know, like nothing too special in general, except for the fact that like we do have a design underneath the dust jacket. I love it when we have something on the naked hardcover and cute end papers. Like I really like it now that publishing is starting to just add these little touches in there, that it's nothing like too big or crazy if it's not a special edition, but just the idea that we have a little bit of something under there, I really, really like. And so this one, A woman who wields magical tarot cards lands herself in a false engagement with the headmaster of a mysterious academy in this first installment of an enthralling fantasy romance series. Yeah, so I guess there's some sort of like tarot card reading situation with like the magic system here, and our main character like ends up in prison, but then gets engaged to what they said, the headmaster or whatever it is, in order to infiltrate, I guess, the school to help him solve like what happened with a family member or something like that. I don't 100% know, but like I said, I've read other things by this author that I have really enjoyed, and so I definitely want to try this out. It is nice and thick. I'm excited. Okay, and then the last thing we have here is actually an Illumicrate to unbox. It's in a brown box, which is very intriguing because usually they're in the Illumicrate boxes. Now, I will say that this is the July box. I'm sure there's going to be people out here that do not want to see this book or anything like that, which is perfectly fine. I paid for this before a ton of other things were coming out. Here's our theme, yours hatefully. The one major thing that I'm going to say, I'm going to show all the items and things like that. I don't personally want to read any of the fan fiction stuff that has come out with the books that are being published. I do find it a little bit interesting that a lot of people, and this is mostly like the cis people that I have seen, have been really going after the authors that have wrote the books, the authors that have blurbed the books, more than the publishers who are promoting it a certain way. And I didn't even know that they were promoting it a certain way until some of these conversations popped up, because I wasn't ever on, I think it was what, Edelweiss or something like that, a different site where people can get ARCs and things, not NetGalley. I didn't see any sort of like promoting of these books through NetGalley or anything like that. The one thing I will say with this is the book that's in this box, the author has said is not reworked fan fiction. It is a completely new story. She did not want it to be associated, from my understanding, with the previous IP of all this other things that were happening. Now, she didn't tell the publishers not to promote it a certain way, as far as I'm aware, but at the same time, I don't know how much authors are allowed to protest how publishers are promoting their books. So this is the only book that I have that could in any way be associated with that IP and She Who Must Not Be Named. I give a little bit of leeway with authors and their books if it came out around 2020 and before, because the big thing that happened with the author, obviously, was from around that time. I do think it takes a little while to get references out of books, so even if a book was published in 2021, I'll give a little leeway. If your book was published after that, I do not want to see references to anything ever. Otherwise, I at least dock a star or two. Sometimes I'll just DNF it and not read your books. So I completely understand where a lot of people are coming from with this situation. And I just want to say that this is the only time you'll probably see me with this book and everything as well. But this book is not a reworked fan fiction. The author has stated that. I'll put the picture here as well so that you guys can see that. And when this was first being announced and talked about, that was a fact that people knew. People would actually say, this is not the fan fiction. Apparently the fan fiction is still up, because this is a completely new story with certain vibes, yes, but it's not associated with the IP or anything like that else at all. So that was part of the reason I was okay getting this. But now that we have it and people have had issues, I'm curious where we go from here. I'm going to open it and show you guys the items and things. I do not have any other books pre-ordered that were fan fictions of that IP. I'm curious to see if we'll have the conversation come around again when like Alchemized is supposed to come out in a couple months, but yes. So let's get into the items. The first one we have here are sticky notes. It says they are inspired by Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. I do like that they have two separate types of sticky notes. Like this one has acorns, this one doesn't. I will definitely use these, and I will leave all the artists and creators linked down below so you guys can check them out if you would like. The next one, oh, okay. Ruegberg Expedition Water Bottle Bag. Inspired by A Dark and Drowning Tide by Alison Saft. I need to read that one. But yes, okay, so it is this. I like the design on here. It's actually quite big. So if you have a water bottle that is quite big, it comes with like the strap and everything for it, has like the hooks. I think this would fit quite a bit in there, which is very nice. It does have like a sort of non-slip situation on the bottom. Okay, I like that. Okay, the next thing is in this pink box. Messenger to the Old Gods Watering Globe. Interesting. Inspired by The Undertaking of Heart and Mercy by Megan Bannon. I don't know what a watering globe would be. Okay, let's take a look. It's very lightweight. Oh, okay. So this is like you put the water in the thing and then you put it in your flower pot. It's a little owl. That is very cute, actually. But it is going to be glass, for sure. But so you would fill that with water and then you poke it in the pot. And it should help with the whole not having to re-water your stuff quite often. Okay, but that is definitely something fragile. I don't use potted plants, like ever. I do not keep them alive. This might, but at the same time, I have cats and kids and things. Very, very cute. I love the idea of this because of how cute the design and the color and all that kind of things are. I don't know how useful it would be for me at this point in time, but I could see people definitely getting a use out of it, and I think it's cute. The next thing is this. It's an enchanted ink plate set, is what it says. Inspired by Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. Okay. Okay, I'm assuming we have at least 2 plates because it said plate set. Okay, one is white, and it says Dear Carver. That is very cute. What else? What is the other one? I think the other one is black. Dear Iris. I have not read this, but I'm assuming those are the 2 main characters. This is a very cute plate set. I love the typewriters. I think Illumicrate does pretty well with their like ceramic things. Like these are very, very cute. I do want to read that book eventually. I don't have a copy, but I do like the idea of the plates. Very nice. Okay. And then I think that is it besides the book. So here's the book here. It's not in plastic wrap, which is fine, but like lately all the books have been in plastic wrap. It's The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy by Brigitte, Knightley. So like I said before, there are some vibes and things going on with this, but this is a wholly new book that should never have been associated with the fan fiction IP that the other books were, because she has said this is a wholly new book. So again, I completely understand where people are coming from. I do not want certain people to profit either. When I got this before everything came out, because I really had no idea that things were being promoted a certain way, I purchased it before then. Even though this is a wholly new book, it was being promoted the same way as some of the other ones, or actually not even the same way. It was not being promoted as this is a fan fiction. It was being promoted as these characters have a similar vibe to these characters, and these characters are from this other book, which was fan fiction. And so this is the perfect time for this brand new debut author to be picked up and people to read it. They were, the publishers, from, because I saw the paperwork afterwards, were basically saying, this is a brand new author who has done a brand new book, but the characters are going to have the vibes of these other characters. And so now is the perfect time to sell this book and have people read it because of that. Again, should not have been associated that way. I think if they would have just not had that put out there, people might not have known, because this one is new. But okay, here's our book. This is one of those plastic dust jackets that when you take it off, it just comes right off, which is interesting because then we have electric people. Veins? This is interesting. Not too sure how I feel about that. I do like the cover. Oh, here's the edges. Also in that same sort of like veiny feeling. Okay, here is one end paper and the other. Okay. I don't know about you guys, but like with the art that I have here, I'm almost getting the Star Wars vibes more than anything else. I think it's just the way that she is dressed. She reminds me more of that. The Princess Leia. It's the white, sort of like the darker hair up in a bun and the white clothes. But yeah, and then I think we have a digital signature here. Oh, there's a lot of stuff at the beginning. We have like a map and a pronunciation guide and a glossary. I do like that. Some different things like here. There are content notes. It's an enemies to lovers romantasy featuring an assassin and a healer. It contains elements which may not be suitable for all readers, including graphic violence, on-page torture, on-page deaths of minor characters, swearing, brief sexual content, medical content including fictional diseases affecting adults and children, and depictions of sick children in a hospital-like setting. Please read with care. I do like that. Okay. Like I said, I do wish this was promoted differently because I don't think this book, this author, is potentially on the same page as an actual fan fiction that was being promoted from a certain IP. We'll see. Oh, and here was the back in case you wanted to see. The best love stories begin with hate at first sight. It makes sense. And so that's all I'm gonna say about this book. Let me know if you guys want to know more about this if I eventually read it. But otherwise, I do think publishing really needs to look at how the big publishers are talking about stuff as well, because it was not promoted in a way that it should have been. 100%. I'm very strict myself with the way I look at books nowadays that even reference certain material. So that's as far as we're gonna go with that today. I do hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm hoping my reading turns better after this month because, yeah, July was a little bit rough that way. But otherwise, I hope you guys liked this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Subscribe to this channel if you'd like to see more videos. I do have videos coming out Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, so I will see you then. Bye.